I want to say welcome to our Northampton Community Television audience. This is Rick Haggerty, kicking it for Peace, Culture, and Education. I'm airing each Sunday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on 103.3 FM Northampton, streaming online at valleyfreeradio.org. And welcome back to our Valley Free Radio listeners. And good morning, Bruce Watson.
Good morning, Rick. How you doing?
All right, got a little echo going on there with our. Why don't you try calling back on my other line, Bruce, if you could, and if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. So we've got Bruce this morning is going to be talking about just a wonderful, wonderful story. It is Edna St. Vincent Millay, and that is from The Attic, and he is at theattic.space. So that's how you find that article. You can follow along with us. And The Attic, True Stories for a Kinder, Cooler America. And hello, Bruce. How are you?
I'm here.
All right, there you are. So we're talking about Flame. Why don't you introduce the article for us?
Okay, well, about a year ago, I was looking back at 2017, as we remember, as a horrible year, the first year of Trump and many other things. And here came 2018, so I saw it back 100 years, and remember that 1918 was really a horrible year, and there must have been someone, some poet or someone who had a great deal of hope that year. And I was lucky to find one of the most hopeful poems ever written. So here, this is about Edna St. Vincent Millay, and it's called Flame. A century ago, as darkness gleamed over the western world, a young poet moved to Greenwich Village. Everyone called her Vincent, but her full name, embellished by the name of the hospital that had saved her uncle, was Edna St. Vincent Millay. She would go on to win a Pulitzer and be a major figure in American letters, but that winter, at the age of 25, she taught a grieving world to dream. 1918 began in fear and ended in devastation. That spring, after a year of mobilization, American troops finally poured into the trenches of France. Joining the bedraggled, mutinous allies, the doughboys entered the Great War. The victory cost 115,000 American lives in just 5 months. While bodies piled up, civil war broke out in Russia and Finland, and then that spring a deadly influenza began to spread around the world. Before it ran its course, the Spanish flu would be the worst pandemic since the Black Plague, killing 50 million people, including 500,000 Americans. 1918, a century ago, infant survivors of the war and the plague still live among us. We turned to poets for inspiration, but 1918 was too tough for most. Wallace Stevens wrote little that year. Robert Frost, teaching at Amherst College, wrote a poem that winter comparing squawking blue jays to soldiers. William Carlos Williams was haunted by the war. Damn it, he recalled, the freshness, the newness of the springtime which I had sensed among the others was being blotted out by the war. My year, myself, was being slaughtered. With America's major poets in despair, hope was left in the hands of a frivolous young woman, as one acquaintance described her, with a brand new pair of dancing slippers and a mouth like a valentine. Vincent proved equal to the task. Raised in mid-coast Maine, Edna St. Vincent Millay had battled sorrow all her life. Her eccentric mother had thrown her father out of the house, taking on the task of raising 3 feisty girls, Edna the oldest. While their mother toiled as a seamstress, the sisters acted in plays, wrote poems, and tormented teachers. But the eldest soon broke out of the pack, dazzling teachers with her poems. The world and I are young, never on lips of man, never since time began, has gladder song been sung. By the time she graduated from Vassar, Edna Millay was a published poet. And just before she moved to the village, her lengthy Renaissance, in which she imagines her own burial and resurrection, was published as a book. One critic wrote, "I had not known there was so much beauty in the world." But the world of 1918 was aligned against beauty. Along with the war and the specter of flu, it was the coldest winter in memory. Vincent had invited her sister Norma to come to New York. They were bound to succeed, she wrote. Can't keep us down. I'm all enthusiasm and good courage about it. So come on out, my dear old sweet sister, and we'll open our oysters together. But by February, despite Vincent's fresh love affair and their own renewal, the sisters were struggling. Well, the gas main froze, Norma recalled. She put a bouquet of flowers in the windowsill and they froze. We stayed in bed together for 2 days just to keep warm. Spring brought a thaw, but more bad news. German guns shelling Paris, German troops launching a desperate offensive. Vincent fought back in verse. World, world, I cannot get thee close enough. Long have I known a glory in it all. But never knew I this. Here such a passion is, that stretcheth me apart, Lord. I do fear thou hast made the world too beautiful this year. A friend remembered seeing her red hair flying as she ran down McDougal Street, flushed and laughing like a nymph. She would soon fall out of love, telling one suitor, never ask a girl poet to marry you. Yet all spring, the sisters drew closer, finally inviting their mother to live with them. And in mid-June, Poetry Magazine published more Millay poems, including a single stanza that would define joy for generations. No one knows when, during the grim seasons of 1918, Edna St. Vincent Millay wrote First Fig. There is no rough draft, no tangle of lines. The poem emerged, like the poet herself, eloquent and inspired. A century later, as another foreboding year looms, her anthem of hope still glows. My candle burns at both ends, it will not last the night. But ah, my foes and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light.
What a great story. We had a little bit of technical difficulty with that, but
I hope you got some of it there.
yeah, it's it's just a wonderful poet, and about 1918 fear and devastation, and dealing with a war, and the world and I are young. Never on lips of man, never since time began, has gladder song been sung. As you said, bringing optimism in a time of involvement in the Great War, and really desperation. World, I cannot get thee close enough. Long have I known a glory in it all, but never knew I this. Here such a passion is. Stretcheth me apart, Lord, I do fear, thou has made the world too beautiful this year. Really just striking words, and just an incredible story. And as I mentioned, we, in our home have this poetry, and it's been recited at important family events. Just an incredible poet, an incredible story. Yeah.
I was very inspired. I read her biography in and around this time, and discovered that she lived just over the hill in Austerlitz, New York, and keep planning to go visit the house, which is still open. And so I was very moved by all of that, and I think that's what we turn to poets for at times, to light a candle, so to speak. And so I was pleased to find this.
Yeah, Austerlitz.
And it happened exactly in that year.
Yeah, fantastic. So Austerlitz, right over the New York line on the Pike.
Yeah.
Route 22, I think.
Yeah,
New York Route 22. Yeah, I go up north on the north side of that one. So and again, I want to remind folks, Bruce Watson's online news magazine is called The Space, and you can go The Attic at theattic.space. So you can check out this article, and if you couldn't hear it quite perfectly there, that it's called Flame. So go to theattic.space, and you can read that. Just search in the top right corner Flame. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? It costs nothing to do so, and you get one email a week. But the stories, articles here are fantastic. I see The Little Tramp and His Masterpiece, about Charlie Chaplin and City Lights, and other great articles. What's this? Back at the Cadillacs, I see.
Well, that was I was.
That's a good one.
I take the attic on the road wherever I can, and I try to get around. And earlier this year, I was at Cadillac Ranch in in Amarillo, Texas, where they buried these Cadillacs. And so that's a story on how that was done. And I have this week's is on and the Emperor Norton, who anyone who lived in San Francisco knows who the Emperor Norton was. And so there's a bunch of articles.
Oh yeah, Joshua Norton, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a wonderful picture of looks like a postcard of San Francisco from
right at the top of the article, yeah.
1800s. Yeah, fantastic. So again, folks can go to theattic.space and check out Bruce Watson's stories. And thank you so much, Bruce, for calling in. What do you have planned for next week for us? Any thoughts?
Yes, I do. I'm going to write about a magazine that is almost forgotten except by lit folks called St. Nicholas. It was a children's magazine 100 years ago, and it was the first magazine. It was widely read by children, including young children who had a great literary future, including, so it was the first magazine to publish Faulkner and did St. Vincent Millay and Rachel Carson and several others. They would publish these children's submissions. So I call it the cradle of American lit.
Outstanding. Well, we will look forward, to hearing from you then. And thank you so much for calling in today. And again, folks, please go to theattic.space and check out Bruce Watson's stories. Bruce, thanks so much. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, man. Yep, take care. Okay, so that is Bruce Watson with The Attic, True Stories for a Kinder, Cooler America. And I've got a little bit of this date in music history, an enlightening quote for you. On this date in 1966, Hendrix's single, Hey Joe, was released in the UK. The next year, the Lemon Pipers released the single Green Tambourine. Had kind of a Beatlesque, kind of Sgt. Pepper's, ethereal nature to it. I'm going to play that song for you. In 71, Don McLean's American Pie was released in an 8-minute version. I hadn't heard quite that length of the tune. Saturday Night Fever opened in the U.S. in 1977. And in 1993, the musical The Red Shoes opened. In 1993, also, MTV aired the famous Nirvana's New York Unplugged performance. What a great release. And we're going to listen to a tune from that as well. And our enlightening quote today from Daisaku Ikeda, quote, "Outward appearance is not important. What counts is what is inside our hearts. Are there heart-to-heart bonds? Some families may always be together physically, but are estranged at heart. Some families can only get together for brief periods, but manage to enjoy concentrated and lively heart-to-heart communication when they do meet. Families that share bonds of closeness based on day-to-day efforts are ones in which the members feel comfortable and at ease with one another, no matter where they are or what they are doing." And boy, isn't that important? An important reminder this time of year. I know I don't always get together with my family, but it's really wonderful when I do. And the FaceTime is great. It's a great way to keep in touch. I know some people are shy of that, but I really hated it for a long time, but now I'm quite fond of it. So I connected with my brother and his husband out in Palm Springs yesterday, and got them in touch with our little guy. So you might want to consider that. So I guess I'll go ahead and play a little bit of the music history and start with Hendrix and a couple of other tunes. And I want to remind you, this is Valley Free Radio, 103.3 FM Northampton, streaming online at valleyfreeradio.org. And thank you again to our Northampton Community Television audience for being with us this morning.